This recording will describe the questions and demonstrate the functionality associated with Screen 1.0 General Information in the Sterilization Process Validation QBR. To access the original Type 5 template, select Veterinary Master File as the document type. If this is for a new master file, select No to the question, is this submission for a currently established file or application? A master file number will be assigned once the submission has been accepted. If you select Yes, you will be asked to enter the document number for your existing master file. On the next screen, you will be asked if you are a U.S. company. If you select No to this question, you will be asked for the U.S. agent or U.S. employee information on the next screen. Next, you should enter the firm name, address, telephone number, and Duns & Bradstreet DUNS number for the holder of the master file. If this information has already been saved in your address book, you may click the box with the red down arrow to access your address book. If you do not have the information saved to the address book, you may fill this information out and then save it to your address book by selecting the button with the blue box and the green up arrow. Since we indicated on the last screen that the master file holder was not a U.S. company, this screen asks if there is a U.S. agent or U.S.-based employee. If you select Yes, you will be asked to indicate their role as either U.S.-based employee or U.S. agent, their name, degree, title, email address, as well as their address and phone number. A DUNS number for the contact should also be included. If we had indicated on the last screen that this was a U.S. company, Screen 4.0 Responsible Official would have been activated and the same information would be requested for the responsible official. Similar to the last screen, contact information for this individual may be saved or retrieved for the identified individual using the buttons in the upper right-hand corner. Screen 5.0 asks for the information for the person that is submitting to the agency. If the answer to the question, is the submitter the same person as the responsible official or U.S. agent, is yes, no further information is required. If the answer is no, further information is required. Similar to the other screens, this screen asks you to identify the name, degree, title, email address, mailing address, phone number, and DUNS number associated with this individual. Again, the address book may be used to save or retrieve information as needed. Next, you'll be taken to the Submission Type Selection VMF tab. You must first select the VMF type to which you are submitting. In this case, CMC should be selected. Under the VMF submission type dropdown, you should select Original VMF A. The only available submission classification code is Other Unclassified OT. You should then select Division of Manufacturing Technologies HFV 140 as the review division. Because this is the original submission to the file, you should select No to the question, is this information intended to amend a submission currently pending and under review by CVM? If you were later to need to submit an amendment to this submission, you should select Yes. Clicking the green arrow will open a new tab entitled Original VMF, VAOT. The first question will ask you to select the type of VMF. The option Type 5 should be selected. This will cause a new question to pop up asking if you are submitting sterile process validation information. This question allows us to distinguish master files intended to support other aspects of drug development from those containing sterilization information. If you select Yes, you will notice a message that pops up indicating that you will be redirected to the Type 5 template after completion of this section. Note that the template indicates that the green arrow at the top of the page should be utilized to forward through the template to ensure that all required sections are activated properly. Clicking the green arrow will now take us to the CMC Type 5 tab. You will also notice on the screen that certain subsections of the template are already enabled. These are sections that are expected to be filled out by all sponsors. Other sections are optional depending on what information you plan to provide with the master files. This will be discussed in more detail later. Now we will move on to the first screen in the CMC Type 5 template. The first section of this screen asks the user to identify the manufacturing establishment name and address that this master file applies to. The establishment name should be entered in the first box. Next, the appropriate country should be selected. Note that the state, province, territory, and postal or zip code fields are inactive until a country is selected. These fields use the geopolitical entities, names, and codes, GENC standard nomenclature. If I select the United States, you will note that the appropriate states are displayed. If I select Argentina, you will note that the appropriate provinces are displayed. Returning to the address, note that there are 2 available lines for the address, but only line 1 is required, as indicated by the blue dot. The appropriate city should be typed in and the appropriate state, province, or territory selected. Finally, the postal or zip code should be added. The appropriate zip or postal code format will be available based on the country selected. Note that only the 5-digit zip code is required for the United States, but the zip +4 code may be used if known. Next, the facility telephone number should be added. Note that there is additional hint text to help you format international phone numbers. The fax number of the establishment may also be entered if available, but is not required. Once all of the required information has been entered, you may use the address book functionality to save the information for future use. This can be done by pushing the button at the top right of this section that shows the blue box with the green arrow pointing upwards. Once you click the button, you will see the prompt that asks whether you want to copy the establishment information from the selected responses to the establishment book. You will note that in this case, without completing all of the required fields, eSubmitter will not be able to copy the information to the establishment book. Once the appropriate information has been saved to the establishment book, it can be recalled for future use in other eSubmitter templates. You can do this by selecting the blue box with the red down arrow. When this is selected, all of the available establishments are displayed. You can use the search, sort, and category fields to narrow the possible selections if you have multiple establishments available. You can also use the new, edit, and delete functions to help maintain the correct information in the establishment book. Once you have located the correct facility, you can double-click or highlight and hit the select button to copy it to the eSubmitter template. Moving to the final section for facility reference numbers, you will note that FEI and D&B DUNS numbers are both required fields. The FEI number is a maximum of 10 numbers and the D&B DUNS number is a maximum of 9 digits. In the next section of the screen, you are asked to identify a contact person for the facility. This should be someone located in the United States that can act as a point of contact if an inspection of the facility is needed. You should include the name, telephone number, and email for that contact. Again, this information can be saved to or downloaded from the address book with the buttons in the upper right-hand corner. The last pieces of information related to the facility is the inspection status of the facility. This dropdown offers you all of the options for the inspectional status. If you select NAI, VAI, OAI, or pending, you will be asked to follow up to provide the date of the last inspection. Note that this is a plain text field that can be filled out with the applicable date or date range. This question is not available if pending is selected from the list. You may also provide the other relevant information regarding the inspectional status of the facility as a response to the next question. This question is optional, so you can leave it blank if there is nothing else to add. In the next question, you are provided with a set of checkboxes to identify which sterilization processes are covered in this master file. You must select at least one item, but can select as many as are applicable. You will notice that as I selected each option, that set of questions became activated in the left panel. The final question asks if this master file references another Type 5 master file. This may include master files for irradiation facilities, facilities that depyrogenate components, or any other relevant Type 5 master file. If you select yes, screen 1.1 Type 5 master file will become active. On this screen, you are asked to identify any other master files that are referenced by this master file. This screen is referred to as a tabular screen, which means that the questions can be entered multiple times. Before we get into the details of the screen, let's go over the buttons found on this screen. The green plus sign is used to add items and the red minus sign deletes entries. The multiple red minus signs will delete all entries in the table. The list button will take you back to this screen, which lists all of the entries. The detail button will take you to the individual questions. The info button gives you all of the instructions for this screen. The blue arrows will allow you to navigate between each of the entries within the table, both in list view and the detail view. This information may be provided in several different ways. If you only have a few items to add, you may do this by pushing the green plus sign. This will open the question screen. On this screen, you should select whether the master file is a veterinary master file, VMF, or drug master file, DMF. Next, you should enter the file number. You should provide a brief description of the information provided in this master file. In the next question, identify whether you own the master file. You should then attach the appropriate letter of authorization that provides the right to reference this master file. Note that if VMF is selected and you indicate that you own this master file, the LOA is optional. The LOA is required for all other combinations of file type and ownership. If you have many master files associated with a particular Type 5 or you use this information across multiple applications and files, you may wish to consider the Import Spreadsheet option. If you select the Info button at the top of the screen, you will be taken back to the introduction screen you see when you first move here. This allows you to use an Excel spreadsheet to copy and paste all or some information into eSubmitter. First, we will discuss the import options. Regardless of which import option you decide to use, you start the process by clicking on the button in the upper right-hand corner with the box and the green down arrow. This will open the Data Import wizard. You will see two options for importing: import data selected using copy-paste from Microsoft Excel, and import all data from a Microsoft Excel file. Import data selected using copy-paste from Microsoft Excel can be used to only import selected information from the Excel sheet. This option will be most useful if you have assembled a master sheet that will be used across multiple applications. Import all data from a Microsoft Excel file is the better option if all of the rows from a particular Excel sheet will be copied into Excel. We will return to the import option in just 1 minute, but first, let's talk about the Excel sheet. You may create your own Excel template, or you may use the pre-prepared spreadsheet provided by CVM. At the top of the screen, you will see a link to CVM's Excel sheet with all of the relevant columns. The first thing you will notice is that all of the questions found on the sheet are available in the spreadsheet. You can fill this out just as you would fill out the questions. For master file type, the column header indicates the options. You can type in DMF or VMF as applicable, the file number, the brief description, and whether or not you own the master file. To add the letter of authorization, first navigate to the folder that contains the LOA. Highlight the appropriate file and select Copy Path. Returning to your Excel sheet, you can click Paste and it will paste the link into the file. I'm now going to show you another spreadsheet that has been filled out with additional information. You will note that this spreadsheet has an additional column that was not present in the original template. This is a column we have added to track the application numbers associated with the master files. This column is important when using the copy-paste option because Excel does not recognize the use of Control+Click to only highlight and copy certain cells. Instead, it will copy and paste all cells in between the first and last rows you have selected. Instead, we recommend adding an additional column to the end of the sheet to capture information such as application or file numbers to allow filtering of only the information you are interested in. Any extra columns beyond what is requested by eSubmitter will be truncated upon import. We will demonstrate all of this in a few minutes when we walk through this process. Once you have assembled all the information, the next step is to import the data. We will first demonstrate the copy-paste functionality. To do this, again, click the box with the green down arrow and select Import Data selected using copy-paste from Microsoft Excel. Once you click OK, you will be taken to the copy-paste import wizard. You can then go to the Excel sheet you have prepared and select the rows you are interested in. Returning to eSubmitter, I can now click the button Paste from Clipboard. This will copy and paste rows 2 through 4 into eSubmitter. You may preview the entries by clicking the right and left blue arrow buttons. As I mentioned before, Excel does not recognize the use of Control+Click to highlight and copy only certain rows. If using Control+Click to highlight rows 2 and 6, when copied into eSubmitter, replacing the existing information, you will notice that 5 rows are added. To avoid this, you may want to add one or more additional columns to help filter the information to only include the rows you are interested in. For example, in the Excel sheet, I can filter the application numbers to only display information for master file 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This reduces the available entries to 3. Now, when you copy and paste this into eSubmitter, you will see that only 3 lines have pasted over instead of 5. Note that when I was showing the different copy and paste options that I was given an opportunity to either replace or add to the existing information already in eSubmitter. If we are adding brand new data, you can select either option. In the future, you may need to come back to this data again and either add or replace the existing data. You can do this by selecting the appropriate option. In this case, we will just replace existing data and then select Next. To start the import process, click the Start Data Import button. You will note that the box below now indicates that the data has been imported successfully. If there are errors in the import, it will note them here. Now you can click Done, and it will take you back to the screen. You will see that all 3 rows have now been successfully imported into the template. If you select one of the rows and click Detail, you will see that all of the information has been correctly associated with the proper question. The second important function is import all data from a Microsoft Excel file. Once again, we will select the box with the green down arrow. This time, we will select the import all data from a Microsoft Excel file. In the file import wizard, you will see that it has pre-filled the source type as Microsoft Excel is the only type of file currently supported. The next line includes the display definition instructions. This provides you with all of the instructions to construct your own Excel file if you do not wish to use the provided spreadsheet. Next, it will ask you to select the source file. You can browse through your folder structure to find the file. Next, you will need to set the import configuration options. If the first row of the sheet is a header, click the box so that it is not imported. Next, you start the data integration approach of either adding to or existing data or replacing existing data. In this case, we will just add to the existing data. This will open a screen that asks you to verify the sampled data. If the data is correct, click Next. To start the process, click the Start Data Import button. You will note that the box below now indicates that the data has been imported successfully. If there were errors in the import, it will note them here. Now you can click Done, and it will take you back to the screen. Clicking the list screen, you will see that all 5 rows have now been successfully imported into the template in addition to the 3 rows that were previously added.